We are experiencing some very high temperatures. I see all over the country, all over the whitetail range, but there is a blessing coming here next week. Looks like very good weather change coming. It just happens to fall here in Kentucky on our early season muzzleloader hunt that's offered here in the state of Kentucky this year. It's the 16th and the 17th of October. So kind of a good deal. We don't see that around many parts of the country. Kind of get the season kicked off. The youth season is this weekend, and the kids are out battling the heat. So I've heard a couple gunshots in the area, and not many. Looking forward to hearing those successful stories from the kids here in the near future. But tonight, the video that we're going to chat about is this. Last week, or the end of last week there, we posted a video. I posted a video about the importance of not crashing in on the scrapes. That brings us to tonight's topic. What do you do and how do you handle scrape hunting in October? What are the pros of hunting scrapes? The importance of putting that video before this video was to make sure that you don't crash in just because it's a fresh open scrape. Go in, hang a trail camera on them, get busted, get too noisy, making too much noise, too invasive, throw a stand up on a scrape, and it turns into nothing. At that point, you might as well have a trail camera set on a once hit rub, a velvet rub, if you will. And just because it's a rub doesn't mean that they're going to frequent back to it. Now, are there signposts and do they frequent certain areas with rubs just like they do scrapes? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Yes, they do. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So the second here, the thing that we're touching on is, now that you've found it, what does it mean? How do you go about hunting it? What can you benefit from hunting scrapes in this time of the year, from here throughout the remainder of October, even into the rut? What we're looking at here is the power. There's a lot of power in scrapes. It has to be treated with kids' gloves. Probably the most important thing is the scent control around the scrapes. So we're going to talk about two things that kind of can join together there. The first thing is the scent control, as in your boot tracks, hanging the trail camera on it, and leaving that scent around there, and just maybe cleaning it out. Did you cut the line of travel going to it? Stuff like that. The scent around those has to be the precaution. The preparation has to be through the roof. Now, the reason I say that is this, leading into the second point here, is because if that isn't followed, usually what I see is, what happens is folks are overlooking that, and that buck, when he makes those native scrapes, unlike what we're going to touch on later here in the video, but he makes that native scrape once a year, it doesn't take much to shut that scrape down. This time of the year, they're getting into this not forgiveness mindset that they had in the summer. It might take them a couple of days in the summer to get over stuff that you did. It might take them a couple of weeks to get over something now that you've done going through the rest of the fall. So scent caution. That in connection with that is your trail cameras. If you're going to hang a trail camera on a mock scrape, hang it high, hang it on an angle. What's one of the tricks they do? Instead of, depending on how the trail's coming in, if you think he's going to be using it and looking up into a stand location, or make sure that camera's not in line with it, kind of offset the camera, which is kind of a good idea anyway, looking down the line of travel, so you're not just getting that 30-degree window of trying to catch something coming in and running past it. Offset them a little bit. That's a good idea, good strategy to have on all trail camera placements. Just tilt it on a 45-degree angle so you're looking down some of that stuff, so you get him going away, coming to it. And it's high. I'm 6'6". I hang them right at my face level, so 6.5 foot. Something up there. Tilt them down. It's like the Reveal X that we're using now on our cell cams. We're still using the Meyer regular SD card cameras, but the Reveal X that we're using are the red flash, they call it. They're not the black low glow. Hopefully they change that sometime, but I have had, you know, all my cameras obviously are hung high like I'm, you know, recommending that you do, and I haven't had an issue with them at all, so I don't think it's an issue. They're taking beautiful pictures, but once on something like that, he will go elsewhere. So don't blow it, because the best is yet to come, like we said, as far as them using it on a more continual basis. So really use cautious there. So that leads us into kind of the third thing that we're going to talk about. If you follow along with the channel, I've got a real belief that there are certain scents that we can use in scrapes that work, scents, lures. Over the years, though, I have weaned myself away from using them more and more and more. I see the colder temperature states seem to work better, and I think I have found what the reasoning is behind that is because you have a more of a window of opportunity to get that right. I see in the lower in here where Kentucky is, across this mid-band or the southern tier, I see a lot of folks getting themselves in trouble there because they're implementing these scents too early. Now, I see folks in the north implementing it too early too, don't get me wrong, but because of the temperature and because more of the weather change up there, the cold temperatures, the storm front, stuff like that you get, you know, there's a connection there that you can get away with a little bit more. But what I have found is steering myself away from them is because there is a lot of power in natural. Absolutely 100% natural. Now, when I say that, natural meaning not contaminating the scrape with a foreign object as far as a synthetic lure, whether that's just regular doe urine, whether that's doe and estrus, or whether that's buck or a dominant gel or something. Have I had them work? Yes, I have. But I am here to testify that the all-natural approach is the majority of what works. So with that said, I'm going to finish the topic of if it works. Yes, it does work if implemented correctly. But here's the deal. If you're going to use it, use a fresh collected or a raw scent. In other words, as like raw, you know, there's a product out there called raw scents. But who I recommend using is Tom Whitty with Nature's Best Whitetail Scents out of Michigan. He pan collects that urine from his does. His does are artificially inseminated. Obviously, he does this for breeding purposes, not to collect the urine, but obviously they're in. So you know at that point it's raw, collected. He can testify, I can testify, his products work. So if you're going to use one, that is the one. He's got some regular urine. He's got estrus. He's got the gel, forehead tarsal gland gel that he uses, or tarsal gland gel that he uses, and it works. So what I just hit on is the last point that we're going to talk about right now. Tom has had great success. There's a lot of folks out there that have had great success using like a gel on a licking branch or something like that. 2 years ago at the home farm, we started, I had multiple scrapes active on the home farm, and I also had multiple scrapes active out on some native scrapes, but they were all active out on public ground. What I chose to do, because of videos such as this and the learnability of the channel, I actually took one from private ground, and I took one from the public ground. And what I did is I put Tom's scents, and I put some also some I think it was buck fever, so it's a synthetic, into some scrapes. Tom's excelled. The Nature's Best excelled way above and beyond everything else that I had used for years. But so there was 4. There was 2 on each location. 3 went cold turkey. And it didn't go cold turkey with the scents in the scrape until I put the gel on the licking branch itself. The licking branch went completely cold. If the licking branch goes cold, obviously your scrape's going to go cold. Because it's not, to me, it's not worth taking the chance of contaminating that licking branch with a foreign scent. If you touch it, I've had them shut down, and by all means, if you're adding a scent to that, it's going to shut down. I mean, I haven't run major studies on that. Is it 9 out of 10 times? I don't know what it is, but I had 4 of them and 2 of them shut down, so 50% of them shut down. That's a gamble that I'm not willing to take anymore. And here's the reason I think a lot of that is a lot of those gland scents are made from, extracted from tarsal gland. Now, you'll have to contact each company that whatever you're using to find out what they do, but if you think about it, I've never had a buck, out of all the hundreds of hours of footage that I collect off those licking branches a year, I've never had a buck stand on his front feet and rub his tarsal glands on the licking branch. It'd make a hell of a video, but I haven't had that happen. So I recommend that if you're not a trail camera guy, stepping into that world, because this is one of those times when them cameras on these scrapes can benefit the success of your season. So find out that information on that scrape. What is that scrape? Is it a satellite or is it a community scrape? The difference between the two, like we've talked before, the satellite scrape is something that was implemented when when the velvet started coming off. They started separating. You got the first 2 or 3 cold temperatures, and they're scraping, they're starting that process, and they're moving on. It's not a scrape that's going to stay there long term. The community scrapes are the scrapes that they focus on time and time and time again, and only get stronger throughout the season. What a community scrape is on a private piece of property that we have the power to do is implementing the licking branches and keeping them there so they don't break, they don't go away. The does are using them, the fawns are using them, the immature bucks are using them, the mature bucks are using them, and that's how you can take your hunt and elevate it to the next level, by using these licking branches and making the community scrape effect happen in the area that you want it to happen, not the area that they are creating it. So I hope that kind of all makes sense as far as caution on scrape use, use and hunting over them. And is it a powerful tool? Yes. Should you and can you hunt over scrapes? Yes. If you're on private ground, I highly recommend that you're hunting over a made scrape, a licking branch, whether that's one you found that you hung a stand on and you've implemented a licking branch on it over the the course of the summer, or right now on a leased piece of property, whatever that is, hanging that licking branch on there, making it more durable so it doesn't go away, and watching the use of scent that you're adding to it. We got another video coming down the road here we're going to go further in depth here about when to implement it, when we get towards that end of October time period. We're going into the that cruising time period, what to use, when to use it, if you're going to use it at all, and how to watch what your does are leaving behind communication with those bucks. So a couple steps there, guys, to really focus on right now. Powerful tool, but let them cook. Let that information cook in those scrapes. Let those deer feel comfortable using them. Don't blow out those locations. If you get a cold front and it's happening and the trail cameras are telling you there, your wind's right, your thermals are in your favor, by all means go and kill him, because he's probably going to be at that scrape. But if it's not, if it's a hit or miss kind of thing right now, and he's using it at dark or middle of the night, wait until it's right. And yes, it is a pinpoint spot to attack and to pounce on in that predator mode, pounce on one of those mature bucks. But it's not quite that time yet where you can bank hours. Should be banking multiple sits and multiple hours on that scrape yet. Thanks, guys.